Autism. Employment laws. Protecting the rights of autistic workers. Employment laws and protections. Ensuring fair treatment and equal opportunities in the workplace. Employment laws safeguarding autistic individuals encourage inclusive workplaces by prohibiting discrimination, ensuring fair treatment, and mandating reasonable accommodations. Fundamental employment laws and protections include the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, 1938, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's, EEOC, 1965, the Rehabilitation Act, Section 504, 1973, the Federal Rehabilitation Act's Vocational Rehabilitation Programs, 1973, the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, 1990, and various state and local employment laws. U.S. employment rights and protections. At a glance. The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, 1938. Protecting workers' rights and fair wages. The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, is a federal law in the United States that establishes minimum wage, overtime pay, record-keeping, and child labor standards. It covers most employees, including those with disabilities and autistic individuals. The FLSA helps protect autistic individuals in the workplace by ensuring fair compensation, preventing exploitation, and promoting equal treatment. Its fundamental provisions include child labor protections. The FLSA includes provisions to protect minors from exploitative or hazardous work conditions. It sets minimum age requirements for employment and restricts the types of tasks and hours that minors can work. These protections help safeguard autistic individuals who are minors from being subjected to inappropriate or unsafe working conditions. Equal treatment. While not explicitly stated in the FLSA, its provisions promote equal treatment and non-discrimination in employment. Autistic individuals are entitled to the same minimum wage rates, overtime pay, and other benefits as their non-disabled peers. Employers are prohibited from discriminating against individuals with disabilities, including autism, in compensation and terms of employment. Minimum wage requirements. The FLSA establishes a federal minimum wage employers must pay to covered employees. As of 2022, the federal minimum wage is $7.25 per hour. However, many states and localities have higher minimum wage rates. Autistic individuals, like all workers, are entitled to at least the minimum wage for all hours worked, ensuring appropriate compensation for their labor. Overtime pay. The FLSA mandates that employers pay covered employees overtime at least 1.5 times their regular pay for any hours worked beyond 40 per workweek. This rule ensures that autistic individuals, like all workers, receive fair compensation for overtime, helping to prevent exploitation and ensuring they are fairly paid for their time and effort. Record-keeping requirements. The FLSA mandates that employers maintain accurate records of employees' hours worked, wages earned, and other information. These records help ensure transparency and accountability in wage payments and facilitate enforcement of the FLSA's provisions. Autistic individuals, like all employees, benefit from these record-keeping requirements, as they provide documentation of their work hours and earnings. The Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. Enforcement. The Wage and Hour Division, WHD, of the U.S. Department of Labor, DOL, enforces the provisions of the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. The WHD investigates complaints of wage violations, audits employers' payroll records, and takes enforcement actions against employers who violate the law. Individuals who believe their rights under the FLSA have been violated can file complaints with the WHD for investigation and resolution. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, 1965. Empowering Employment Equality. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, plays a crucial role in safeguarding the rights of individuals with disabilities, including autistic individuals. They provide guidance and regulations to employers and employees on their rights and responsibilities under federal laws prohibiting employment discrimination, including the ADA and Section 504. Standard guidance includes compliance assistance and enforcement. The EEOC offers compliance assistance to employers and employees regarding their rights and responsibilities under the ADA and other relevant laws. The agency also investigates complaints of disability discrimination, including those involving autistic individuals, and takes enforcement actions against employers who violate the law. Enforcement actions may include mediation, conciliation, and litigation to remedy discriminatory practices and relieve aggrieved individuals. Definition of disability. The EEOC defines disability under the ADA, stating that autism is a disability if it substantially limits one or more major life activities, such as communication, social interaction, or sensory processing. This interpretation ensures that autistic individuals are protected from employment discrimination and entitled to reasonable accommodations. Harassment and retaliation protections. The EEOC prohibits harassment based on disability and protects individuals with disabilities, including autistic individuals, from retaliation for asserting their rights. They guide employers in preventing and addressing disability-based harassment and ensure employees feel safe reporting discrimination or harassment without fear of retaliation. Interpretation of legal requirements. The EEOC interprets and clarifies the legal requirements of the ADA and other relevant laws concerning disability discrimination and reasonable accommodations in employment. It guides employers, employees, and other stakeholders on their rights and responsibilities under these laws. Prohibition of discrimination. The EEOC clarifies that discrimination against individuals with disabilities, including autistic individuals, is prohibited in all aspects of employment, including recruitment, hiring, promotion, job assignments, training, benefits, and termination. They emphasize that employers cannot make employment decisions based on stereotypes or assumptions about a person's disability, including autism. Reasonable accommodations. The EEOC guides the reasonable accommodation process, which requires employers to adjust the work environment or job duties to enable individuals with disabilities to perform the essential functions of their jobs. For autistic individuals, reasonable accommodations may include flexible work schedules, modifications to communication methods, sensory accommodations, or job coaching and support. The guidelines outline the interactive process between employers and employees to identify appropriate accommodations. In summary, the EEOC's clear directives and regulations serve as an essential resource for employers, employees, and advocates in understanding and implementing the legal protections for individuals with disabilities, including autistic individuals, in the workplace. By providing clear guidance on non-discrimination, reasonable accommodations, harassment prevention, and enforcement, the EEOC promotes equal opportunities and a more inclusive work environment for autistic individuals. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC. Oversight. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, is overseen by a bipartisan commission of 5 members appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate. Commissioners serve staggered 5-year terms, and the President designates one commissioner as the chair. Additionally, a staff of employees manages the EEOC, handling investigations, enforcement, and other administrative functions. The Federal Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504. Rights and Responsibilities for Inclusive Work Environments. Section 504 of the Federal Rehabilitation Act ensures essential protections for disabled individuals, including autistic, by promoting equal employment opportunities and prohibiting disability-based discrimination in the workplace. Section 504 workplace protections include accessibility of facilities and technology. Section 504 requires employers to ensure that their facilities and technology are accessible to individuals with disabilities, including autistic individuals. Accessibility may involve physically modifying the workplace, providing accessible technology and communication tools, and ensuring job-related information is available in accessible formats. Affirmative action requirements. Certain employers may be required to take affirmative action to recruit, hire, and promote individuals with disabilities, including autistic individuals. Affirmative action encourages diversity and inclusion by actively seeking to include these individuals in the workforce. Definition of disability. Section 504 defines a disability as a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, having a record of such an impairment, or being regarded as having such an impairment. Autism is recognized as a disability under Section 504, protecting autistic individuals from employment discrimination. Non-discrimination in employment practices. Section 504 requires employers to base employment decisions, such as hiring, promotion, and termination, on qualifications and job performance rather than disability status. This prohibition protects individuals with disabilities, including autistic individuals, from discrimination. Reasonable accommodations. Similar to the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, Section 504 requires employers to provide reasonable accommodations to qualified individuals with disabilities. These accommodations enable individuals to perform essential job functions. They may include modifications to work schedules, job duties, the work environment, or the provision of assistive technology and other supports. The Federal Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Meaningful employment through vocational rehabilitation programs. The Federal Rehabilitation Act of 1973 establishes formula grant programs focused on vocational rehabilitation, supported employment, independent living, and client assistance. Vocational rehabilitation programs assist autistic individuals in their quest for meaningful employment by offering support through advocacy and rights protection. Vocational rehabilitation programs advocate for the rights and interests of autistic individuals in the workplace, ensuring compliance with federal and state disability rights laws. Counselors offer guidance on disability rights, reasonable accommodations, and workplace protections, empowering individuals to assert their needs and advocate for themselves with confidence and control. Assessment and evaluation. Vocational rehabilitation programs begin with assessing an individual's strengths, abilities, interests, and support needs. For autistic individuals, this assessment identifies specific skills, sensory sensitivities, communication preferences, and other factors impacting employment success. Individualized planning. Based on the assessment, counselors develop an individualized plan for employment, IPE, that outlines the individual's employment goals, objectives, and required services. This personalized plan, tailored to unique needs and circumstances, helps individuals feel valued and understood, thereby overcoming employment barriers. Job placement services. Vocational rehabilitation programs assist in finding suitable job opportunities by identifying openings, connecting individuals with employers, arranging interviews, and supporting the hiring process. Counselors work with employers to facilitate accommodations and ensure a smooth transition into the workplace. Job preparation and training. Vocational rehabilitation programs offer job preparation services, including vocational training, job readiness workshops, soft skills development, resume writing, interview preparation, and job search assistance. Counselors help with disclosing autism to employers and navigating the application process. Retention and advancement support. Once employed, vocational rehabilitation programs provide ongoing support to help autistic individuals retain their jobs and advance their careers. This continuous support, including job coaching, assistance with workplace challenges, advocacy for accommodations, and access to further training or education, reassures individuals and promotes a sense of security in their employment. Supportive services and accommodations. Vocational rehabilitation programs offer supportive services such as assistive technology, adaptive equipment, transportation assistance, job coaching, communication support, and workplace modifications. Counselors collaborate with employers to implement reasonable accommodations, enabling individuals to perform their duties effectively. In summary, vocational rehabilitation programs are essential for supporting autistic individuals in achieving meaningful and sustainable employment. These programs provide comprehensive assessment, individualized planning, job preparation, placement assistance, supportive services, and advocacy. Through job coaching, social skills training, and assistive technology, autistic individuals can pursue career goals aligned with their skills and interests. These efforts significantly enhance inclusion, independence, and economic self-sufficiency for autistic individuals in the workforce. The Federal Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Enforcement. The enforcement of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973's Section 504 and vocational rehabilitation programs involves multiple federal agencies, including the U.S. Department of Education, Office for Civil Rights, OCR. The U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights enforces Section 504 in educational settings and programs receiving federal financial assistance. It handles complaints and ensures compliance with non-discrimination requirements in education. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, Office for Civil Rights, OCR. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Civil Rights, enforces Section 504 in health and human services programs. They investigate complaints of disability-based discrimination and ensure that entities receiving HHS funding comply with Section 504 requirements. The U.S. Department of Labor, Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, OFCCP. The U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs oversees compliance with Section 504 among federal contractors and subcontractors. They ensure that these employers do not discriminate based on disability and comply with affirmative action requirements. Working together, these agencies investigate complaints, provide technical assistance, and enforce compliance to prevent and address discrimination against individuals with disabilities in various federally assisted programs and activities. Complaints can be filed directly with any of these agencies, prompting investigations and potential enforcement actions, including corrective measures and withholding federal funds if necessary. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, 1990. Ensuring workplace equality. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, provides significant employment protections for autistic individuals and individuals with disabilities. Critical workplace safeguards include: definition of disability. The ADA defines a disability as a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, having a record of such an impairment, or being regarded as having such an impairment. Autism is included in this definition, granting autistic individuals protection from employment discrimination. Prohibition of discrimination. The ADA prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities, including autism, in all aspects of employment. This includes recruitment, hiring, promotion, job assignments, training, benefits, and termination. Accessibility of facilities and technology. The ADA requires employers to ensure that their facilities and technology are accessible to individuals with disabilities, including autistic individuals. This may involve physically modifying the workplace, providing accessible technology and communication tools, and making job-related information available in accessible formats. Harassment and retaliation protections. The ADA prohibits harassment based on disability and protects individuals from retaliation for asserting their rights. Employers must take prompt and effective action to address and prevent disability-based harassment in the workplace. Interactive process. Employers must engage with employees requesting accommodations to determine suitable modifications that enable them to perform essential job functions. This process involves communication between the employer and the employee to identify barriers and potential accommodations. Non-discrimination in job application procedures. The ADA prohibits employers from conducting pre-employment medical examinations or making disability-related inquiries before making a conditional job offer. This ensures that individuals with disabilities, including autism, are not unfairly excluded from employment consideration based on their disability status. Reasonable accommodations. Employers must provide reasonable accommodations to qualified individuals with disabilities unless doing so would cause undue hardship. For autistic individuals, reasonable accommodations may include flexible work schedules, modifications to job duties, assistive technologies, communication supports, or changes to the work environment to minimize sensory distractions. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, 1990. Enforcement. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, and the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, enforce employment protections under the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. Enforcement actions of the EEOC include investigating complaints. The EEOC investigates charges of discrimination against employers covered by the ADA. This includes businesses with 15 or more employees in state and local governments. Legal actions. The EEOC can file lawsuits in federal court to protect individuals' rights and the public's interests. They may seek remedies, including back pay, reinstatement, and changes to the employer's practices to prevent further discrimination. Education and outreach. The EEOC provides education and outreach programs to help prevent discrimination in the workplace. This includes providing guidance to employers and employees about their rights and responsibilities under the ADA. Technical assistance. The EEOC offers technical assistance to employers, employees, and other stakeholders to ensure compliance with the ADA. This can involve providing detailed information and guidance on accommodating employees with disabilities. Additionally, the U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ, enforces the ADA's provisions regarding employment for public entities. These enforcement actions include handling complaints and taking enforcement actions against state and local government employers that violate the ADA. State and local employment laws. Empowering equality in the workplace. State and local employment laws are crucial in providing additional workplace protections for autistic individuals, complementing federal laws such as the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, and the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. These laws vary by jurisdiction and often expand upon federal protections or address specific issues relevant to the local workforce. They can also influence employers' hiring practices, encouraging them to consider a more diverse range of candidates, including those with disabilities. These additional protections may include anti-discrimination laws. Many states and localities have anti-discrimination laws prohibiting employment discrimination based on disability, including autism. These laws may offer broader protections or cover additional characteristics not included in federal law. For instance, some state laws explicitly prohibit discrimination based on genetic information or family status, which can be relevant to individuals with autism or their family members. Minimum wage and overtime laws. Some states and localities have minimum wage and overtime laws that exceed federal requirements. These higher wage rates and additional overtime protections ensure fair compensation for autistic individuals and help prevent employers' exploitation. Paid sick leave and family leave laws. Numerous states and localities have enacted paid sick leave and family leave laws, allowing employees to take time off to address medical needs. These laws are particularly beneficial for autistic individuals and their caregivers, providing flexibility to attend medical appointments, therapy sessions, or other necessary activities without fear of losing income or jobs. Public contracting and procurement requirements. Certain states and localities require government contractors and vendors to comply with specific employment practices, including non-discrimination and affirmative action. These laws may also mandate hiring individuals with disabilities, including autism, ensuring equal government contracting and procurement opportunities. Reasonable accommodation requirements. Some states and localities have laws that mirror or expand upon the ADA's reasonable accommodation requirements. These laws offer additional guidance on the interactive process between employers and employees to identify and implement reasonable accommodations. For instance, they may specify that employers must provide assistive technology or modify work schedules to accommodate the needs of autistic individuals. They may also clarify employer obligations in specific industries or sectors. State vocational rehabilitation programs are a significant resource for many individuals with disabilities, including autism. These programs, operated by many states, offer job training, placement assistance, and other services tailored to the needs of autistic individuals. They provide specialized support and resources, such as job coaching, skills training, and assistive technology, thereby enhancing the employability of autistic individuals. These programs support autistic individuals' journey to secure and maintain employment. State and local employment laws, in their comprehensive approach, provide a robust framework of protections for autistic individuals in the workplace. By addressing gaps in federal law and tailoring protections to the specific needs of local communities, these laws promote equal opportunities and inclusion for autistic individuals in the workforce. They expand anti-discrimination protections, clarify reasonable accommodation requirements, and ensure fair wages and working conditions, thereby fostering a more inclusive work environment. State and local employment laws. Enforcement. State and local human rights commissions and labor departments play pivotal roles in upholding employment laws. They oversee enforcement and address grievances related to discrimination or wage discrepancies. These agencies are essential in ensuring adherence to state and local regulations and allowing individuals to seek redress for rights infringements. Specifically, human rights commissions handle complaints about discrimination and wage issues. At the same time, state labor departments enforce employment laws and offer resources for resolving workplace disputes.